Hello. So I'm going to give you some feedback. So I am from the United States of America, and more specifically, I am from the Black community of the United States of America. So when I tell you something or I ask you a question, you will respond, hello. Hello. One more time, hello. Fantastic. So before I start, I'm going to speak today about the art of influence. And I think that as women especially, there's something dynamic and very influential about a woman, especially in a career path and in the industry, especially in tech. I am standing here today because of the women that came before me. And every time I speak, I always would like to honor them, specifically my mother. My mother is a kindergarten and first grade teacher in St. Louis, Missouri, so she teaches little babies. And when she teaches them, the first thing they learn on the first day of school is something from my heritage in West Africa. It's a saying called Ago Ame. And Ago means, are you listening? And then all the 30 little babies, it's very cute, they respond and they say Ame, which means yes, I'm listening. And so to honor her, every time that I get on a stage, I do that with my audience. So throughout this presentation, I'm going to ask you, Ago, which means, are you listening? And then you will respond and say, Ame, which means I am listening. Sound good? Let's try it. Ago. You're not loud enough. Ago. It is too cold in Poland for me to be here, and you are not loud enough. Ago. Fantastic. So let's get started. Today we're going to talk about what authenticity means. And then we're going to talk about the 3 areas of authenticity that I do not think are talked about enough in the workplace. And throughout this presentation, again with my ancestry, I think it's very important to start with this idea of you need to know where you come from, to know who you are, and to know where you're going. So how in the world are you going to be authentic if you don't know who you are? And so I've been dealing with this for many, many years as a person who is Black American, which means that my roots stem from the enslavement of West Africans. And so throughout this presentation, you're going to see pictures and quotes of Black American women. Many of them are not part of my DNA necessarily. They're not part of my family, but they are women that throughout my childhood and me growing up have made me become who I am. Ago? Ago. Good job. So let's define this. It is not our differences that divide us. It's our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences. So in the past couple of days, I've heard a lot of people talk about diversity and inclusion. And it's very interesting because what people are lacking in that conversation is the beauty of difference. And not just, oh, someone looks different than me in the hallway. I don't really care about that. What it means is that how you act and how you think and the fact that you have a different opinion than me in the boardroom and the fact that you challenge me when we walk with each other to the conference room and when we have debates and discussion not only makes this company stronger and makes the product that we build better, but most importantly, it makes me stronger. Because when I interact with you, you are the only you. And I would hope that because you're the only you, you are the best you I could ever meet. And so by interacting with you and navigating the tension that we may have between you, I learn exactly also who I am because I will never meet a you again. So what actually happens when I walk into work and I decide to just be me? And I decide what my strengths are. I do not allow anyone else to tell me my strengths. I do not allow a man in power to tell me what I'm not good at. But I walk into spaces and I tell you, Ago. Y'all, if these eight-year-olds can get this right, I am fully confident that in the next 10 minutes you can get this right. Ago. Perfect. So in conclusion, every decision that you make in your boardroom or in your product meeting or even in your home should, number one, uplift you, because it is your decision and you need to stand on it. And it's a decision that comes from not only your ancestry, but also comes from who you are and how you walk and how you see in the world. And what happens in a world if we actually take those decisions that we stand on and we actually build them to make intersectional communities. I've been in Poland since Saturday. Number one, for all the Polish people in here, your country is gorgeous. Number two, I'm the only black person here. Minus the other 3.5 that flew here for this conference. And I'm not critiquing you, but I'm all challenging you, is that as you think about feminism and as you think about women in tech and all of these amazing terms that we've using, you are not the only woman in tech. And you are not the only color of woman in tech. And so as you start learning more about who you are and do your work, we need to also remind ourselves of intersectional communities, because we have a lot of commonalities here as women and as allies. Men, I'm talking to you too. But we also have a lot of differences. And the best thing you can do as an ally for yourself and for other communities is to understand that you and I are not the same. And how can you use your privilege to help me, as well as how I can use my privilege to help you. The second thing is being consistent, right? I go. I promise we're gonna get there. We'll be here all day, but we're gonna get there. So be consistent with your work. And I know that we talk about this often, but we need to be very concrete about that. There is something intrinsic about consistency. I was talking to a friend a couple days ago, and I said, how's work? And she said, wonderfully consistent. And I loved that. So my question is, are you good at your job? And you don't have to answer right now. I'm going to assume you are, because you're a woman, and as far as I'm concerned, I met God, and she is real. But Barbara Smith must said, trust is to human relationships what faith is to gospel living. It is the beginning place, the foundation upon which more can be built. Where trust is, love can flourish. If you are consistently good at your job, there is a trust built between you and the people that you work with. So whether you're a project manager, a software engineer, a salesperson, a graphic designer, if you're good at your job, I'm always gonna come to you. There is a trust with consistency, and there is something very beautiful and very sexy about consistency in the workplace. Because with that consistency, that means that I know that I can come to you as a subject matter expert, and not only can I ask for feedback, but I know that I'm getting the best you every single day. So I always ask folks when I get on a stage, are you good at your job? Which in Black American translation is, do you show up and do you show out at work? Because if you don't, then you need to. Because there is no woman who has ever rocked this world through her talents and intelligence and strength and frankly just pure badassery, who is not good at her job. So the lesson here is learn the foundation of your job. Do not get involved in the politics at work. And it's very hard for a woman because somehow everything that we do is politicized. But if you can find a way to try to take yourself out of that as much as possible and to come to work and be consistently great at your job, I wonder what magic you can create. I go? Perfect. And this is my favorite, be assertive. So where I come from, many times me being assertive is equivalized to me being aggressive. And when I was younger, I used to hate that. And now I'm older, a lot older. My skincare makes me look a lot younger. And I love it. Because as far as I'm concerned, is that you can call me aggressive, you can call me irritating, you can call me annoying, but was I right? I go? So Alice Dunbar Nelson, who was a very, very famous Black American bisexual poet, once said, "Nothing will do me any good unless I learn how to control this body of mine." I was talking to someone yesterday, she's 15 years old, and she, I think, is a symbol of what our future will look like. And the one thing that I told her was I said, you need to control yourself. Because here's the thing. In this world that unfortunately is not equal, people will sometimes use your response to things as a mechanism to tear you down. And through a lot of work and a lot of therapy for everyone 2020, it's a thing. It's a thing. I've learned that I can only be me. And in that me, I can only control the responses that I give others. Even if those other people are ignorant, mean, cruel, and verbally violent. But what happens when I decide to respond in a way that, number one, gets my point across, and number two, calms the situation as much as possible? So for example, I'm a project manager at work, which means I work with a lot of people. And my two favorite things to always say to people is when they come to me with craziness, I respond and I'm like, let's unpack this. Tell me more. My other favorite one is when people, especially men, come to me with a lot of emotion. People like to be aggressive and upset. And this is when they love the most, and you can use it. I will not ask for a fee for it. So how about you come back to me when you've calmed down so we can find a solution? Because guess what? I'm not doing your work. That's what a therapist is for. So in order for me and my job is to control a situation and build a lot of relationships so people can feel like they are their best selves to come up with a solution. Those are a lot of words for my job is to babysit other people's emotions. And how to do that is I require people to own their emotions. And I do not allow people to get me emotional because of their emotions. Again, I get a paycheck every 2 weeks. It does not include your therapist. I go? Perfect. And the last thing is care about the solution. I think many times in life, and this goes for everyone in this room, regardless if you're a project manager or a CEO or a data scientist, these words that I'm giving today are really about career development, is that if you come to work with a solution-oriented mindset, a lot of the stuff that we have to deal with as women in the workplace is not going to affect you. Because you become the driving force of the solution. So Alice Walker, who's a very famous writer, once said, we should learn to accept that change is truly the only thing that's going on always, and learn to ride with it and enjoy it. The hardest thing about being an adult is that every day something's messed up. That's literally what adulting is. I go? You wake up and someone's upset. You go get breakfast, your kid's mad about a crayon. You go to work and somebody does not say hi to you, which, by the way, is insanely annoying. As if I'm also not upset because my kid wanted a crayon that I didn't have. You go into the break room, the coffee's cold. Who drinks cold coffee? You get a phone call and your partner's in the hospital. Why are you in the hospital? It's a very inconvenient time today for you to do that. You get home and you find out that your landlord wants to raise the rent. I thought we were cool. That's literally what adulting is. So what happens is that everyone comes to work with all of these things in their head, and for whatever reason sometimes, they want to take it out on you. But again, you're not their therapist. I go. So what do? A conference room is not a place for venting. That's not why it was created. A conference room is a place for solution-oriented feedback. So here's the thing. I am actually a very emotional person. I see a teddy bear, I cry. I see a news article, I get upset. But if you ask the people that I work with, they wouldn't know that, because you know what I do? When I want to cry at work, which by the way, I am proud to stand here on this stage and say I am a black woman who's worked in tech my whole career, and I cry like every week at work. It is not a weakness. Is that I go to my car, I go to a conference room that is completely empty, and I do my cry, get it out. Fun fact, I'm also not a sad crier. When I'm sad, I yell. When I'm mad, I cry, which is really infuriating, because then everybody thinks that I'm sad. I'm not. I'm just really upset with you, right? Because a conference room is a place to figure things out. And if you are the woman that walks in and can control all of this emotion, and remember, I'm not telling you that your emotion is bad. I'm telling you that your strength is controlling the emotion at any given time. Then you become the savior. You become the cape, because you somehow got everyone in the room to stop complaining. And with a beautiful beat face from Sephora, you found the solution. So my last quote before I leave the stage, it's my quote, and I want you to leave with this, if anything else, is that your superpower is knowing your strengths, because utilizing those will literally make you shine. And I do not want you to walk away from this conference and not know that every strength of yours, whether you're still strengthening it, whether you have mastered it, or any weakness that anyone has told you was a weakness, but it's actually a strength, is not gonna get you to where you need to go. I go? I go? Thank you.